Hello friends, students and members of the fraternity of medicine and physiology. The current year 2020 seems to be posing a lots of challenges to the humankind. There is of course virus and there are natural calamities which many countries are facing. So let's take care of ourselves and our immediate milieu. Let's take care of the nature and the nature will take care of us. Well, this topic that I have come up today is a small topic, somatostatin. Now, it's an interesting one because I remember I had seen one question: which hormone or ligand is pro-insulin as well as anti-insulin? Pro-insulin as well as anti-insulin. So, I was looking for the possible candidates. Growth hormone was looking one probable candidate because growth hormone has got anabolic action, protein synthesis action, which is similar to insulin, and at the same time it's hyperglycemic. So in that sense it is anti-insulin. So growth hormone could have been one candidate, but the candidate that I thought is fitting the bill is somatostatin. It perfectly suits that definition of being pro-insulin as well as anti-insulin. Why? We will try to find out in this video. Before we start, let me tell you there are four terms which are very similar sounding. So I may just start by differentiating between those four terms. There is somatotropin, there are somatomedins, there is somatokinin, and then we have of course today's topic, the somatostatin. Somatotropin is the name for growth hormone. Somatomedins, as the name suggests, mediators of the growth hormone action. So somatomedins, also called as insulin-like growth factors, they are the mediators of growth hormone action. Somatokinin is the other name for growth hormone releasing hormone. Coming from hypothalamus, this growth hormone releasing hormone would cause release of growth hormone from the anterior pituitary gland. And we have somatostatin. Now this somatostatin, one name for it is growth hormone inhibiting hormone. So this too is coming from hypothalamus and it will go to the anterior pituitary gland and it will inhibit the secretion of growth hormone. But that's not the only action of somatostatin, as we will find out in this video. There are lots of other actions which are exerted by somatostatin. Well, I was just thinking that any hormone or any ligand in the body, it has a certain central theme for its actions. Growth hormone, it has got a central theme of growth. So all its actions are centered generally around that central theme. It will keep the glucose ready in blood so that growing tissues will need that for the sake of energy. It will be protein synthesis promoting hormone so that growth will need the proteins. So all the actions are centered for any hormone. Take any example, secretin. All its actions are revolving around a central theme, that is to maintain the alkaline pH in the duodenum, in the small intestine, because it stops the gastric emptying. I am talking about the secretin, stops the gastric emptying, and it causes pancreatic secretion which is rich in bicarbonate. So all actions centered around one central theme. That's true for all hormones. Somatostatin, it doesn't seem to be so, that it has a central theme and all actions are revolving around that theme. It doesn't appear to be so in the case of somatostatin, because on one hand it's going to inhibit the gastric acid secretion, on the other hand it's going to inhibit the secretions of insulin as well as glucagon. I mean, antagonistic hormones, both of them are being suppressed. So doesn't look like a central theme. Let's try to understand the somatostatin now. It's in a way, somatostatin exerts endocrine, paracrine and neurocrine actions. There are about 6 varieties of somatostatin gene. All 6 are found in the zebrafish. In humans, there is only one, SST. That gene is found in humans. And clearly, the name suggests somatostatin ends with IN. So one thing is clear, that this is an inhibitory hormone. It's an inhibitory hormone. It's going to exert inhibitory influences wherever it is acting. So let's see all those inhibitory influences. Before that, what is the mechanism of action? Somatostatin acts via its receptor on the target cell membrane, and the receptor is G protein coupled receptor. And you know, G protein coupled receptor, when the hormone combines with this receptor, it's alpha subunit of the GTP. You know, G protein or GTP binding protein has 3 subunits, alpha, beta, gamma. The alpha subunit dissociates and it activates an effector protein inside the cell. Now, when somatostatin combines with the G protein coupled receptor in the cell membrane of the target cell, what it does is it inhibits the adenylyl cyclase enzyme. Inhibits the adenylyl cyclase or adenylyl cyclase enzyme inside the target cell, and because of this there is decreased levels of cyclic AMP, the second messenger cyclic AMP. You know, the stimulatory hormones, they increase the levels of cyclic AMP. Somatostatin is an somatostatin inhibitory hormone, and therefore it's going to exert its inhibitory influence by decreasing the cyclic AMP levels in the target cell. So that's the mechanism of action. Now let us see the actions of somatostatin. Somatostatin is released from the D cells in the pylorus and first part of duodenum. So it's released from the pylorus and the first part of duodenum. So we are talking about the GIT action or digestive tract action of the somatostatin. And when is it released from this D cell? When pyloric antrum, its pH falls below 2. So when the pyloric pH becomes less than 2, then further acidification has to be stopped here. So the D cell will release somatostatin, and then it will go on to act on the parietal cell, and it will inhibit the HCl secretion. So it decreases the HCl secretion by directly acting on the parietal cell. The G protein coupled receptor, which I mentioned just now, it's located on the parietal cell membrane in the stomach, and directly inhibits the gastric acid secretion. Apart from that, Somatostatin is also known to have antagonistic effect on the histamine. You know, histamine, which is going to act via H2 receptors on the parietal cell and is going to cause secretion of HCl. That too is prevented. Effect of gastrin on the parietal cell is also known to be prevented by the somatostatin. So, somatostatin is released from the pyloric cells, D cells in the pylorus and first part of duodenum when the pH locally falls below a certain level, generally below 2, and then it has this inhibitory effect on the release of gastric HCl, gastric acid secretion. It acts directly as well as it inhibits the effects of histamine and gastrin on the parietal cell. So, that is the first action of the somatostatin, first inhibitory action. Another next action is somatostatin is also secreted by the delta cell in the pancreas. You know, there are islets of Langerhans and there are alpha cell, beta cell and delta cell. Alpha cell glucagon, beta cell insulin. Delta cell synthesizes and secretes somatostatin, and then this somatostatin then will act locally and will inhibit the secretion of insulin as well as glucagon. So, somatostatin suppresses or inhibits the secretion of insulin as well as glucagon. So, look, it is inhibiting insulin secretion, so its anti-insulin action is quite evident. But it is also inhibiting glucagon secretion. Glucagon is anti-insulin which is being suppressed. So, it could be called as a pro-insulin action by inhibiting the glucagon secretion. Somatostatin works like a pro-insulin because it is inhibiting the anti-insulin hormone. So, that is one way of looking at it. It inhibits both insulin and glucagon. So, therefore, it puzzles me because, as I mentioned, generally all hormones in the body, they have a certain a central theme, one central theme of actions, and all the other effects revolve around that theme. They are very pro to that theme, but somatostatin does not seem to be working like that. I mean, it is inhibiting insulin as well as glucagon, antagonistic hormones. Okay, so that is one more action of somatostatin. Next, it is released by the hypothalamic neurons. Here, it is referred to as growth hormone inhibiting hormone. So, hypothalamic neurons also are known to release somatostatin. It is called as growth hormone inhibiting hormone. It is released into the median eminence, and from there it is taken to the anterior pituitary gland where it inhibits the growth hormone secretion. It is an inhibitory hormone. So, it is going to inhibit the growth hormone secretion. Now, look again, growth hormone is a diabetogenic hormone. In a way, we call it an anti-insulin hormone or diabetogenic hormone. By suppressing the diabetogenic hormone, somatostatin works like pro-insulin. I mean, growth hormone, anti-insulin, suppressing it means pro-insulin. So, therefore, somatostatin action becomes pro-insulin again. Therefore, it has got both types of actions, pro-insulin as well as anti-insulin in that sense, right. And as you see, it is inhibiting growth hormone secretion, it is inhibiting insulin and glucagon. So, it is managing the blood glucose in a very complex way, and third is it's also inhibiting the gastric acid secretion, which doesn't appear to be related to the other two actions. I mean, gastric acid secretion is a digestive tract action which doesn't appear to be connected with these two other actions which are endocrine actions. So here it's neurocrine action, hypothalamic neurons, because it's also released, it's being released by the neurons in the hypothalamus. So we can call it as a neurocrine action, and acting to release or rather acting to suppress the growth hormone secretion. So endocrine, neurocrine, it's a mixed action. Here in the pancreas, it's an again suppression of the hormones. Very different varieties of actions here. Finally, what is the importance of all this information? Well, there are synthetic analogues of somatostatin. Well, let me first tell you, in the body, somatostatin is synthesized from the precursor. You know, all the protein hormones are synthesized as pre-pro hormones, then there are pro hormones which are cleaved, and finally the hormone is released. Same is the case with somatostatin, and it comes in two varieties. One is 14 amino acids and the other one is 28 amino acids. So somatostatin comes in these two varieties, 14 amino acid, 28 amino acids. Well, that's a natural somatostatin. So far as the synthetic analogues are concerned, synthetic analogues of somatostatin are octreotide, which is an octapeptide, and lanreotide, which is another synthetic analog of the somatostatin. Now, these synthetic analogues are used clinically in the conditions such as acromegaly. You know, acromegaly is a disorder of excessive growth hormone secretion, where you will need to inhibit or stop that growth hormone secretion, and there you are using the synthetic analogues of somatostatin. Or in certain carcinoid tumors or neuroendocrine tumors, these synthetic analogues are used in the treatment of those carcinoid tumors. So that's the somatostatin in a nutshell, but a very puzzling type of ligand or a chemical in the body with discrete types of varieties of actions.